Hi, I'm Jacqueline Scott. This is my case study for AEP 859, Module 9. First, a report of exactly what happened needs to be identified. I'm the Assistant Principal Kim at Triscuit Middle School, and I have been at the school for 5 years. My intent is to engage teachers in using assessment data to guide their curricular decisions and enhance writing curriculum among the students. A little background knowledge on our curriculum. Teachers mostly use lectures as a primary instructional delivery, and then they also use traditional paper and pencil assessment tools instead of authentic assessments. Norm reference tests to measure learning based on Holt McDougall textbook. So assessment mapping has been implemented to address the lack of authentic assessments. There is a minimal culturally responsive learning and assessments that are in place. There's a lack of community participation and outreach. There's really no partnership between school and community and utilizing the diversity of our community. There's limited differentiation in the language arts curriculum for advanced classes. We are on our second year of school improvement, so there have been state coaches assigned to our school in academic yearly progress for math and reading. They come in to maximize the 84-minute time blocks and help teachers learn, effective teaching strategies. So the problem is math and reading scores are below expectations on the state achievement test, and they have been for a yearly basis. It's been very consistent in that regard. Specifically, short answer items and extended response essay prompts are the struggle, and students don't even attempt them or they receive a score of 0. So it's a major concern in an area of struggle for students. So the actual solution, there's a district initiative. They have brought in the formula writing model, which is a structured approach to sentence and paragraph writing. It provides a framework for all teachers to use writing in their class, and an experienced teacher modeled how to effectively use this model. And there was professional development and an in-service professional development during a workday. And then teachers received resources based on the principles and guidance of the implementation of the formula writing model. Ellen, she worked with teachers and students in an assembly-like format. She took them by grade level, and she provided several examples of formula writing. And the purpose is to have consistency with writing expectations from grade to grade and also across the district. It did generate fun activities and prompts that encouraged students to investigate their cultural identities. It created consistency among teachers for using authentic assessment tools like rubrics that were utilized to formally and objectively evaluate writing skills. The expectations were for students to successfully answer writing prompts on state assessments, for teachers to access resources to support writing across the curriculum, to provide ongoing professional development opportunities and not just one in-service day, to have regular team meetings that would showcase writing progress for students and teachers, and to integrate multiculturalism in the learning process for students. Secondly, it is essential to identify the legal and ethical issues involved in this situation. So legal issues, students are being harmed. There's no differentiation between the advanced class and the inclusion classes. Needs are not being identified. There are not proper supports in place to help students achieve. There's no breach of contract or harassment or discrimination known. There are ethical issues. The school community as a whole is being harmed. Community involvement is not being utilized to help reach and engage students. Teachers are not striving to give students the best education possible. There's a lack of seeking to find new, innovative ways to teach and assess students. And there's really minimal effort to implement culturally responsive teaching. Third, clearly summing up the situation is important in understanding the big picture of what has happened. On a yearly basis, Triscuit Middle School has produced low student test scores in the areas of math and reading. Therefore, implementation of culturally responsive teaching and authentic assessment tools need to be integrated within all content areas to promote writing across the curriculum. Fourth, understanding the facts will help me brainstorm all possible solutions. So let's look at the people involved in this case. The assistant principal, Kim, that's myself. It's my 5th year here at TMS. I have an English language arts background, and I have a desire to apply my school leadership research findings to enhance the writing curriculum. Ellen is involved, and she worked directly with students and teachers to help implement the formula writing and its procedural steps. It was an assembly-like approach. She pulled 315 students while she would model the formula, the different examples of formula model. And so that's a big number. State coaches are involved for academic yearly progress in math and reading. There's a focus on effective teaching and learning and to facilitate utilizing the 84-minute time blocks. There's a low parent community involvement, especially with school-organized curricular events. There's only 25% involvement in parent conferences and open house events. And then other teachers and staff, and what we do know is that they're majority white. And TMS, also the students are involved, poor writing scores on state assessments, and that is what the problem is. The place is Triscuit Middle School. Location is Rockford City School District. It is an urban school. The demographics include 80% African American, 17% white, and 3% other. There's 65% of students on free and reduced lunch and breakfast, and special education teacher for each inclusion class. And then the program, we know it's a 7th, 8th grade public school. It services 650 students with 80 teachers and staff. There are general and special education programs and multiple disability population. Classes consist of a mix of inclusion students, and we know there's a district initiative writing across the curriculum. Fifth, there are many stakeholders that will be negatively impacted from this situation. Negative impact on stakeholders, there's potential to reflect poorly on the school, the principal, the assistant principal, the school district, and there's legal liability with the lack of differentiation. Direct impact on teachers and students. So students' needs are not being met. There's a lack of differentiation. There's no to minimal opportunities for exploring cultural identities. And they're not being assessed in multiple ways and in multiple contexts. It's very teacher-paced and not student self-paced. Teachers, they have a lack of teacher efficacy, and there's school community involvement. Learning does not expand beyond the classroom. Additional information, there's a special education teacher for each inclusion class, but what is the role of the special education teacher? Does the general and special education teacher co-teach? If so, what co-teaching model is being utilized? What are the professional learning opportunities available? And is that a strong area, or is that a concern for teachers? So yes, more information would be helpful. Sixth, I identified and evaluated all possible options that surround this problem. Option 1 is a do-nothing approach to change the writing curriculum. The pros would be there's really no added work or stress. Maybe the building may not be able to handle additional change or change like that. Teachers stay comfortable teaching and assessing the way they're familiar with. The cons would be negative school culture continues, that there's poor performance in writing areas on state assessments. There's no authentic assessment tools, integration of multiculturalism, and effective writing practices. Option 2 is a non-directive approach to change the writing curriculum. So the pros would be teachers are in control of the planning process. There's maximum teacher autonomy because of this. There's buy-in, there's teacher empowerment and ownership because they have basically full control. The cons would be maybe it goes in a completely different direction from the vision of the administrative team, and authentic assessment tools, integration of multiculturalism, and effective writing practices may not be implemented. Option 3 is a directive informational approach to changing the writing curriculum. So the pros would be offer teachers predetermined choices. There's more teacher staff ownership through offering choice. Administration controls the direction of the writing curriculum. It may have a positive impact on student learning and well-being. Authentic assessment tools may be used. There may be more integration of multiculturalism embedded within the learning process. The cons would be more responsibility and tasks given to the school's administration. There's minimal teacher autonomy and empowerment, and still may have loss of trust with administrators and inconsistency of implementation among teachers and staff. So then there's option 4, the directive control approach to changing the writing curriculum. The pros would be administration creates action plan and directs the curriculum changes. It may have a positive impact on student learning and well-being. Authentic assessment tools may be used, and there could be more integration of multiculturalism embedded within the learning process. The cons would be that there's minimal teacher autonomy, ownership, and empowerment. So the things I just mentioned above may not even happen. Inconsistency of implementation for writing curriculum, assessments, and multiculturalism. Maybe there's a loss of confidence and trust between administration and teachers and staff. And there could be additional stress and anxiety on the assistant principal and administrators. So option 5 is a collaborative approach to change the writing curriculum. The pros would be plans of action are determined and selected collaboratively. Multiple perspectives from stakeholders are made to make the best decision for the school community. There would be teacher buy-in, empowerment, ownership, and autonomy. Administration, teacher, staff transparency. A collective understanding of the purpose, vision, and goals behind the change. There could be positive relationship building and positive school culture throughout this process. And implementation of high quality and equitable academic and non-academic instructional practices, resources, technologies, and services that support equity, digital literacy, and the school's academic and non-academic systems. The cons would be more teacher responsibility, and which would add work and stress. And then it could be very time consuming. 7th, evaluating the pros and cons of each option led me to making an ethical decision based on what's best for all stakeholders involved. So option 5, I, the principal at Triscuit Middle School, will take a collaborative approach and work as a team to change the writing curriculum. I choose option 5 because making the necessary changes to the writing curriculum requires all teachers and staff to be on board for full implementation of integrating multiculturalism into the learning process. Utilizing authentic assessments to assess students in multiple ways and in multiple contexts, and the appropriate teaching strategies to produce higher writing achievement scores. It is vital for me as the assistant principal to be able to clearly articulate, develop, and implement high quality and equitable academic and non-academic instructional practices, resources, technologies, and services that support equity, digital literacy, in the school's academic and non-academic systems. Informing my staff of my vision and purpose for changing the writing curriculum, and together creating an action plan to promote the current and future success of each student and adult would generate more teacher staff buy-in and ownership. This approach would be the most satisfying resolution for all stakeholders involved. Educators need to want to develop and improve data-informed and equitable school resource plans and to apply laws, policies, and regulations in order to make the necessary changes to the writing curriculum. With a clear vision, purpose, and supports in place, teachers will be more committed to improving student outcomes. Lastly, I determined an action plan in implementing my decision to ensure positive outcomes. First, I would form a task force with a diverse group of teacher leaders to examine the writing data and also identify the success gaps for groups of students. Second, using the data analysis, we would identify our vision and purpose for changing the writing curriculum. Third, together we would develop a presentation to present the data to teachers and staff with the vision and purpose identified. Fourth, professional learning would be provided that trains teachers on culturally responsive teaching and assessments. Fifth, teachers from the task force will go back to their departments to facilitate and brainstorm solutions to improving students' writing through what was learned in the professional learning training. Sixth, the task force would come back together after collaborating with their teammates to form an action plan that includes the input of teachers. Seventh, the task force will develop an ongoing professional learning plan to continue to train and provide needed supports to implement the action plan. We would take a team approach by being thoughtful and purposeful when addressing the school staff while focusing on the specific needs of our school. Eighth, I will monitor and ensure adherence to the action plan by being present in classrooms and provide support as needed. And then plan B, if my action plan does not work, I'll move to the directive informational approach to change the writing curriculum, which was option 3. And that would just help make sure that we make those changes necessary that needs to happen for our school and for our students. That is my case study. Have a great evening.